This is Mrs. Norrod, and I am recording your Test 1 review for Leadership and Management. So, the first part, let's go ahead and look at the nurse as a manager of care. So, you'll want to look at the role of a manager. Make sure you're able to define the role of an effective manager. There's several areas in your book where that's listed. So a good example is figure 5.2 on page 75, and it lists the keys to effective management. So make sure that you review all of those, understand them, and if questioned on them, you're able to identify the key effective management roles. And then you want to look at what are some good qualities and some characteristics of a manager and what they should display, and how would a manager create a motivating work environment. What type of a manager would you like to work for, and just understand the different types of managers that you might see in the nursing field. And there's also servant leadership, so make sure you review box 4.2, which has a list of distinctive styles of leadership, and that's on page 63. And then also be able to define what attitudes Theory X type managers display, and then what Theory Y type managers display. So if you're asked a question about type X, Theory type X managers, what would that type of a manager be? And then if you're with a Theory Y type manager, what attitudes would they display? Behaviors of an effective manager, and then also look at some of the management theories that are listed in that section as well. Okay, so leadership and followership. You'll want to take a look at the behavioral theories that are listed along with the leadership theories and styles. So make sure you review all of them and at least know how to define each of them. So there's the trait theory, behavioral theories, and those include the autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire leadership styles. If you look at table 4.1, page 59, great studying tool. And the main thing is, if you have a question that is asking you, is this autocratic leadership or behavioral theory? Is this a laissez-faire leadership style? Then, you need to be able to know offhand if you can identify it as one of those three leadership styles. So for situational theories, you'll want to look into that as well. I told you situational theories, transformational leadership. You'll want to look at task versus relationship. And I believe all these are kind of around that page 59. Task versus relationship, motivation theories, and then emotional intelligence. Excuse me. And then on page 63, figure 4.1, go ahead and review the qualities and behaviors to be an effective leader. So even though I know you're going to be brand new nurses out there, you still can display, and be an effective leader and show the qualities of what you would like to work with as an effective manager, effective leader. And then let's see, look at box 4-1, and that's on page 62. What BHAG is, just at least know what that means. And then management theories, understand the roles and definitions of scientific management, human relations-based management, servant leadership. And then, let's see, what type of behaviors would followers use to be effective in the workplace? So if you consider yourself a follower, what would you want to display to be an effective follower in the workplace? And what types of behaviors and leadership skills would good leaders be, and how would those leaders be effective in the workplace? So chapter 4 will kind of go over that question for you, give you some good answers. Definitely with all of this test review, please make sure that you've read the chapters and then review everything that I'm going over here in this PowerPoint. Read through it back in the book. Make sure you read through all of the things that I've listed here. Um, Also, on the with leadership skills and good leaders, we want you to also be aware of, being able to identify what are some poor qualities of nurse managers, what are some examples of poor leadership. So be able to answer those types of questions. And then two, what are some things you might hear a whiner or a winner say in the workforce? Okay, quality improvement and evidence-based practice. So there were some additional resources available for you in that reading assignment section, so make sure to just go on those websites and links that are listed there in the syllabus. But your main thing is you want to be able to differentiate between the different types of research that's out there. So there's, quantitative, qualitative, independent, and transitional research styles. So make sure that you at least know those different types of research and to be able to define them if you're given a question about them. And then try to understand the literature review process. So, how do literature reviews help to confirm your findings with evidence-based practice? What's involved with literature researches? What are some of the elements you're looking for? If you see an article, you're reading your research article, what are you looking for to make it more of a evidence-based article, something that's a bit more substantiated for practice? And then be able to define what evidence-based research is and what evidence-based practice is. Also, look at the different types of research things so that are ready with what are the benefits of evidence-based practice, and how would you use that research to gain knowledge? How would you use that research in current practice as a new nurse, maybe later on when you're an experienced or a veteran nurse? How would you use evidence-based practice? Know the I said know the different types of research. Understand how to define the meaning of quality improvement. How might you use quality improvement in your workplace? And then especially how would you, when there's changes taking place in your workplace, look at how you would use quality improvement to enforce that change. Also, look into risk management. Sentinel events is a big one, so make sure you look into what a sentinel event is and look into what elements are involved with structured care methodology. So if you review chapter 11 section, the section on page 172 is a good resource for you with structured care methodologies. And then also make sure with the sentinel events that if you're given an example, you're able to define what a sentinel event is, and there's multiple different kinds that could be classified as a sentinel event. And then two, sections found in a research article, I think that's on slide 38. Should be on slide 38. So on organizations, people, and change, make sure that you understand everyone's role in change. For change, what elements need to be met in order for everyone to accept when changes occur. Chapter 10 is a good review for you to go over, to review for change. And then if you have resistance to change, what sources are there out you to help get over that hump when you have people who are resistant? Know and understand the PDSA cycle, know the role of each phase. So what's in the plan phase, what's in the do. So if you're asked a question about that, you can identify which phase it's in. And then what can you do to help make change more successful in your organization? So just think about that. And when you're reading the chapter, think about what you're learning and how you can use that in your organization as you start working as a nurse. And then understand the change process, which is that PDSA cycle. You also need to look at the change process in figure 10.1, which is on page 151. And then just know the process in regards to, like, is it in the freezing stage? Is it in the unfreezing stage? So is it in the planning? So look at those different sort the change process and stages, and try to at least be able to identify what's in which. If you're working on change, where would you be in that process? And then when you have resistance to change, if you have staff members who are resistant to change, what are some major sources or some things that you can use to help get over those people who are, giving you troubles with trying to make change in the workplace? What are some tactics? What are some resources you can use? And then we talked about the PDSA model and implementing change, and the zones, which again is the change process. So you have the unfreezing zone, freezing zone, etc. Okay, professional ethics and values. So a lot of this can be maybe some common knowledge, but I would review your values, ethical principles. You'll probably get a lot of examples in the test, like if you get the situation and scenario, what do you think would be the best way to respond as a nurse? What's the ethically appropriate response? Review and understand the ethical principles listed in the book. So chapter 2 is what you want to refer to. Consider again what situations in nursing practice where you may need to reference those ethical principles and maybe help use them to guide your decision making, and when would you need to utilize them. And then also, so the ethical principles again include autonomy, non-maleficence, beneficence, justice, fidelity, confidentiality, veracity, and accountability. Make sure to look through all of those and at least know what they are. Be ready to answer questions where you might need to answer what the role of ethics and values is in the dying process. Assisted suicide, DNR, end of life. What kind of role would ethics and values play in those situations? And then the value systems and how are ethics and values used in making decisions, again, for assisted suicide. That can be a very touchy subject with some patients. So something good to look into. Like where I worked in Oregon, that was a huge issue because we would have people flying in from other states coming there thinking that they could just walk into any hospital and have it done. But it was very, very rare to even find a physician in the state that would do it. It was not something that was well advertised. Nursing practice and legal issues. So try to look into some of the other laws. Look into the definition of implied consent, informed consent. Maybe just know what the process is involved if it's implied consent, and then what situations you would be able to use implied consent rather than informed consent. Remember to review the role of the State Board of Nursing, and at least be able to identify and define what they do, what their main reason of being there is, what is their main responsibility for nurses, who they are, what are they made up of, what is their role in nursing. And then standards of practice. So make sure that you're at least know how the standards of practice might be used within legal cases. So if you're in like a malpractice case or you're in a negligence case, then what do you need to know for the standards of practice related to the nursing profession and how the legal system will use that data? What does the legal system look into in helping to guide what the minimum level of competent care is? And then we looked a little bit into documentation, so make sure you know what may happen to you if you falsify records, and then know what the importance of proper and legal documentation is, and then kind of know what you should chart, what you shouldn't chart. You want to make sure it's objective data, not opinion, like that. And you'll again want to understand the role of standards of practice and scope of practice. Let me go back up here. So for the regulatory bodies, so the American Nurses Association, the State Board of Nursing, we already talked about, but National League for Nursing, just at least know kind of what the what each regulatory body is responsible for. So just be able to define each of those. And then know the definitions and differences between assault and battery. And then to look into remembering, there's a few examples of false imprisonment in nursing, so go ahead and be able to at least identify what false imprisonment can mean in nursing and what can be classified as that. And then how to handle legal issues with coworkers. You want to look at the chain of command, and then how to define, again, malpractice, negligence, diversion. I know we talked a little bit about that with our legal issues. PowerPoint. It's mainly just if you have a malpractice case, this is what it is, and this is how to identify it. How would you identify negligence? And diversion. How would you identify abandonment, rejecting work assignments? And you can use all the resources that are listed there to try to figure out, well, what would happen to me in the State Board of Nursing if I rejected a work assignment? What would happen to me if I abandoned an assignment? So look into those potential examples for the test. And also, it's a good idea to review Appendix 2 in the back of your book, starting on page 289, and then look into what VBON defines as abandonment again. Wow, that's it. Okay. So good luck, everybody. And Monday's the test, so I will hopefully have grades done. My plan is as soon as I'm done with the test, I'm going to head back over to my office, review anything. If I need to make adjustments with points, I will get confirmation with Ms. Compton, and then I can post them right away. So it shouldn't take me too long. It should be out by later that afternoon. Certainly, if you have any questions about the test, anything I talked about in the review, please email me, and I will see you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend. Study hard.